It looks so cold out there, man.
Oh, I don't even want to look outside. It is just scary. If you have not been paying attention, it has been a while since we do this. So
Maybe that's what we said last time.
I know both of us have been crazy busy. It's either me, and then when I'm free, then Charles is busy. So it's on and off, on and off, on and off. So finally, we decide, you know what? Let's use some technology to help us out.
I
Now,
mean, great, we've got it available.
I
Let's
know.
welcome
I
it.
mean, I like face to face. You
I do.
know, being in person is way better. But we'll try and make do with what we got. It is around Christmas holidays is coming up. It is cold, not as cold as some of y'all will have in up north. I hear there was snow in Winston-Salem already yesterday, and it's sticking to the ground. So it's crazy.
They can keep that. I'm not about that.
That's right. They can keep that. All right. What we're going to talk about. The topic is, and I like what you put on there, Agile PM. I tend to bring it too long because it's like, well, Agile project management, Agile project manager. So this came about because I'm confused and I am maybe concerned. Would that be the right word?
I think I share those same emotions, and it's funny because prior to the conversation that you had with Chris Curley, I had a clear set of views. Like, yes, I know what I'm going to be talking about.
Right.
But then, I start a new engagement, and I'm like, wow, this adds a lot of perspective. This conversation is going to go a lot differently than I envisioned 2 or 3 years.
Well, exactly. Uh, and that's I think I would say we have been blessed with being able to be agile running for a much smaller company.
Yeah,
Um, with a much bigger company, I think it is much more difficult. Uh,
yeah.
So so let's tackle it right on. So we will provide the link. Folks that's listening and watching out there, we will provide the link somewhere either here or maybe here. I think probably somewhere around here. You'll figure it out.
Wherever he's
Uh,
pointing, it's
uh,
going to be there.
it's somewhere here, right? So it's a link to a interview that I did with fellow Agilist Christopher Curley. He's been doing this for a while, and he has been in the role of Agile Project Manager and has done Agile Project Management. So in that interview, we talk about what that is.
Mhm.
So we're gonna tackle that right here. Is what is Agile Project Management? So when I started this quest to learn more, I figured I kind of like you. I know what it is. It's just we should not have Agile Project Management. We should not have Agile Project for that matter, right?
Yep.
So why we have that? And now I'm not sure. It feels like there is a portion of it kind of on top, maybe the layer on top, like we're not tackling.
I agree, and I think that the easy answer was the answer that I was looking at 2 or 3 weeks ago, where
Okay.
it's like agile project management is, and Chris Curley hit it right on the head. It's for an organization that is in the middle of a transition, and they've got this world that's half trying to deploy things collaboratively and iteratively, and then the rest of the organization that hasn't transitioned, that's still used to doing it the old-fashioned way of very monolithic projects and such. 3 weeks ago, I'd have told you that is my answer,
Yeah.
and that is what I'm going to go with. But I've seen things that I'm in the same boat as you. I'm like, well, I'm going to give the answer of it depends.
And that's the sucky thing, right? It's that where is it? And one of the things I found was Mike Cohen, right? I admire Mike Cohen a lot, and he's written some stuff about Agile project management too, right? It's talked about there is a layer of coordination that is needed for
Yep.
larger, bigger efforts. If you're able to get to being nimble and small, then awesome, right?
Mhm.
That will be the ideal path to go. But if you can, there is still that uh, requirement that's needed. So So if there is an agile project manager, what do they do?
So from what I'm starting to open my eyes to, and I think going back to what you were saying, I agree that if you're a startup or an organization that's just getting started or small, look at the. I would encourage them as lean as you can. Look at Spotify. You can get away with start simple.
Right.
You don't have to go big and monolithic. However, for a larger company, big banks, big software companies, you're right. There is an extra layer on top of everything that's going on as far as producing the product that a lean or smaller company, a startup, doesn't have to really worry about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
But these big beast or monolithic companies, they've been around for a while. They've traditionally ran their projects this way, and now they've got this whole mindset that's taking hold as far as delivering products. So it's a balance. Now, you said an agile project manager. From what I'm gathering and from what I'm seeing is that if you've got at the lower level, you've got your teams that are developing incrementally. They're using the agile mindset. They can be using whatever framework they want, Kanban, Scrum, and all that. I think, in my mind, the agile project manager is trying to link or connect that delivery or that what's going on at that level with some of the older or some of the more traditional things going on within the company, such as budgeting and, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to say this word, governance.
Governance, yeah. Oh yeah, risk assessment and all those things in there. Oh yeah.
All of these things that, in a smaller company, you may not, you can get away without really having to worry about it. You can develop incrementally, push something out there and experiment and see how things are going. But in these larger companies with budgets and investors and all that, there is so much complexity going on that we've been blessed to see both worlds now.
Yeah.
I think a project manager is trying, if I were to simplify it, they're trying to connect what's going on at the sprint or iterative level and trying to maybe make a connection if there's a larger program that these teams are a part of. Like, how do you bubble this all up to a portfolio and then all the other items that are
Right.
looked at a very high level?
So is there a framework to tackle this? I mean, let's talk about SAFe. I don't remember seeing in the SAFe framework that it call out for a project manager. I did not see that.
I don't think so. Honestly, this closest that the SAFe framework has to a project manager, it might be like the RTEs
Yeah.
or like the value stream managers.
Value stream manager, that's it. Yeah.
I think those are like other like renamings of what that role is. But again, it goes back to what the essence is. They're trying to make a connection
Right.
between different layers in
Right.
the organization.
So I think I see the need for somebody to do that. I see a need for somebody to help coordinate that. I see the need for somebody to, tie together with the things that the business is looking for: security, governance, budgeting, all those things in there. And this project manager can help do that. But it is not traditional, right? It's very different. They need to understand what agile development is looking like and how we can run iterative, how planning is not a plan once and execute. It's very iterative planning.
Yes.
So that component they need to understand that. So is there a need for a PMO then?
That is a that's a loaded question.
I'm like poking right now. I was like, toot, toot.
That is a loaded question. I don't know right now. Honestly, if you were to ask me in my journey right now, I think a PMO is still very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I think that if you have teams that are working collaboratively, delivering incrementally, the need for a PMO, traditional PMO, isn't there, and you should strive to maybe eliminate the need for that, because there's a lot of things that within a PMO and PMO guidelines that I think really disrupt
Right.
the collaborative feeling, the ability to be, and I keep saying the word lean, I'm reading Lean
Right.
Startup, but the
Yep.
ability to be lean. I think the question that I ask a lot of folks in a PMO, and I've been asking this question a lot lately, is it just feels like we're complicating ourselves too much when we can really be simple. And I think that a PMO, they've got the right, their heart is in the right place. They're trying to make the connections. They're trying to, give some level of predictability and metrics and
Right.
all this to the greater organization. But sometimes I think the question needs to be asked is it needed, and is it getting in the way of some of the most important things such as delivery and collaboration?
Right. So I think at the end of the day, I think if we look at if we were able to do a value stream mapping
Mm-hmm.
from beginning to end, right, from ideas all the way out to, you know, sending the product to our client, whatever that may be, right, and then looking at lean of, hey, let's eliminating waste, whatever waste there is, let's make sure things moving forward, let's make sure things are iteratively moving in the right directions, make sure we're getting value out of it. I think that's key,
Yeah.
and I think most organizations that are big, they have forgotten how they got to where they are today. So
Yes.
along the way, they have picked up all this extra baggage,
Yes.
and it's like, well, we have to do this because it's in our contract. Well, what? Well, let me see the contract.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see the article, or which line that says we have to do this. And sometimes those things doesn't really exist because people just, I don't know why people do that. I mean, I don't understand why people say, hey, oh, we it's too much risk. We can't do that. Our company can't. Well, why not? Well, what is it? What do you mean by risk? What are we looking for? Um,
There's definitely I've noticed that as organizations grow, they become less or they become more and more risk averse.
yeah.
And I think a lot of the artifacts that comes out of a PMO or project management is all an attempt to try to identify as much risk as possible,
Yep.
as much uncertainty as possible, almost to their own detriment, where they will spend, and you could get analysis by paralysis. So you'll spend
Yep.
so much time doing this and less time actually delivering. And then you've got us in our world where we're so focused on we need to deliver. And I will admit that sometimes I lose focus on, hey, there are some risks and uncertainties that we probably should not, run into a room
Right.
and booby traps everywhere. So I think it's a fine balance of both worlds. You can't be too gung ho in a big company and run in and do stuff. And I think you can't just sit there and try to identify all the risks that are out.
I think I struggle with that. I think you hit it on the nail way. It's just we try to look for too many stuff. We try to plan and ensure that we identify all the risks. Uh, when it's agile is not that. Agile is about figuring it out, right? I'm kind of like you. I fall into the trap of let's just go execute.
Yeah, exactly.
Execute, hit a wall. Let's figure out how to break down the wall, right? And then move on and keep moving and keep moving, keep moving, so that until we clear, move in the right direction. So lately, I think one of the books that I was privileged to come across was Project Phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
And so I know I threw it out to you guys before. Read it. I mean, it's actually a DevOps book, but it is like a storybook. It's really good read. I managed to finish it, and it is awesome. All right, and nothing on there talks about agile. But if you read it, it is all about being agile and all about DevOps.
Yeah.
So it's really awesome to see. The other thing that I come across lately is it's out there for a while. I just don't know why it did not trigger my mind. The Toyota Way.
Mhm.
So in the book of Toyota Way, there is what they call a kata, right? And that's called the improvement kata, and there's a coaching kata. So improvement kata is awesome way. You kind of there is 4 simple steps in it. You look forward in terms, start with step 1. Where do you want to be? What is it the end result look like,
Mhm.
right? And then you look back. It's okay. Number 2, look at where you are today. What's stopping us from getting to where we want to go? And you
Yeah.
might find the first block, right? And then work on that first block, right? Once you
Yeah.
clear that block, then okay, what's next? So you keep clearing roadblocks until you get there. So So that's really, again, it's one of those things where sometimes I think we read too many things. For me, I don't remember all of it.
Sometimes it does all start to blend together, but I like that. I like the what you described there, and you sent it to me earlier today. And hearing you describe it, a lot of times when I work with teams or with a company that's just starting a initiative, I don't want to say
Right,
project, but they're starting an initiative,
right,
and we sit there and we'll look at the initiative as a big whole, and everybody just freaks out because oh
right,
my god, it's such a huge undertaking. And what you mentioned is awesome because it's taking the problem, you're mapping it out, and then breaking it down into smaller components. And then
yep,
the metaphor that I give to a lot of engineers that I work with when we're faced with problems like that, because a lot of engineers like to play role-playing games and RPGs. I'm a big role-playing and RPG
yeah,
game. The way I look at it is, hey, if I'm faced with a big giant monster, and if I just rush in and just say I'm going to go attack the monster, he's going to destroy me.
yeah,
But if I can identify bits and pieces, like oh maybe I can attack and take his armor off here, and I
right.
can do this, go increment, like maybe I can make it a lot easier as opposed to going after the big bad thing. And that's kind of the metaphor I give to teams is like, hey, you don't have to go after the whole thing right up front. You can try to find weaknesses and then go after those weaknesses little by little.
So you mean the question is how do you eat an elephant?
That is exactly the metaphor right there.
It's like small bit pieces at a time. Or you can just eat it.
I'm watching my figure, man. I can't even.
Or just share, right? Get a bunch of people come and eat it at the same time, right? So that's good. I think that's what it is. I think that we hit it on there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I am still cautious about agile project management. I'm still cautious about the fact that I don't know. My skin crawls when I hear project manager. I'm like, oh no, project manager, no.
Mine does too. And actually, in my research this week and then leading up to this conversation, I had a question and I hadn't, I wanted to like kind of bounce it off you and see what your thoughts were. So you and I, where we stand on the
Yeah,
scale of frameworks in Agile, Safe, Less, all these guys. We
right.
know where we stand with. Are those frameworks really an attempt to replace Agile project management? Or are they an attempt to integrate what was originally project management into an Agile world? Is that what those things, or is that what those frameworks look like? Or is that what they are?
So I'm not sure if integrating. I'm not sure if it's that. I mean, my thoughts is that they're trying to bridge. I mean, yeah, maybe integrating because I see them as an attempt to bridge the old world and the new world,
Yeah.
right? You got this old world. Now business has been around for so long. They are gonna think the same way, right? They're gonna think budgeting. They're gonna think risk. They're not gonna change,
Yep.
right? And I think this is an attempt to connect the dot. Almost, you don't want to shield like you got a person up front shielding us from a bunch of things like the scrum master,
Yeah.
protecting the team, right, from certain things. Like as manager, we say, okay, we don't want all information to be given to our team members because we want to protect them from some of the craziness that's going on. We want to provide a stableness for the team to work on. I think that's what it is. I think it's an attempt to do that.
Yeah. I'm starting to lean in that direction just because of I look at the verbiage that's used. So I spent some time looking at Discipline Agile
Yes.
last couple of weeks,
Yep.
and some of the verbiage that they use it sounds very traditional. Like they have a section that says governance,
Hmm.
and I was like you. I saw governance, my skin crawled. I started shaking a little bit, but I dared and I clicked onto it and I started reading and I'm like, okay, I see their attempt to bridge hey, a governance, you kind of need it, you know, you kind of need it in order to determine, do we really want to do this? Is this something worth going? And then I started to ask crazier questions that I think should be for a later discussion is the way that companies do budgeting and funding
Yeah, that has to change.
causing all of this
Yeah.
dysfunction below.
Yep. Yep.
So to kind of wrap things up or bring things back into a conclusion for us, looking at a small company or a lean company, you have the flexibility and the ability to just kind of experiment, looking at lean startup. But looking at a larger company, I think that a larger company that's been around for a while, an agile project manager, I think in my mind, does have a place. It does have a role. And I think that they're the connection point between the collaborative, iterative teams at the lower levels of, let's say, a funding model and what's going on at the roadmap portfolio and all that. Do I think that that position will evolve and can evolve and should evolve? I have to agree with Chris Curley. I think that really they should. I think that they should move. That model should change, and I think it should go back. I don't know how to get it there, but I think that looking at our previous conversation that you and I had is where do the 12 principles come into play?
Yes.
And how do they scale upward? You've got a lot of these scaling frameworks that are coming up with their own principles that are trying to make that connection. But really, let's look at those original 12 principles and how do they help an agile project manager, or if there's a PMO, like how do they embrace those values? And I think, Richard, the challenge is also on us is how do we embrace some of the values that they have that are probably really important in a larger organization, and how do we embrace and accept those too? It's a meeting of both worlds.
Well, it's so I look at it as if we take agile off the books, which is say let's ignore agile at this point in time. If we're running a business, what do we need to do, right? So our goal is getting to delivering product.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And it may be a service, maybe a software, whatever that means is that we have something that we need to deliver. And that's we're in the business of delivering that product so that we can make money, right? So I look at it as, okay, how fast can we get and deliver those things so that we get profitable? So all these things in the way is it tend to make things longer, right? An audit, for example, you have to go through all these audits things that you got to put in place, the governance, and I got to make sure that my testing is 100% done and everything like that, so that I can check a box.
Yeah.
Well, can we reduce that? Can we work together as one? Can we work with the folks that are like you just mentioned? Meeting of the minds, right? Work together as one. If we were to look at it from just a value stream from beginning to end, how do we deliver something and get to value faster? I mean, that's all it is, working together and then, get better at it over time.
Yep. And if you look at it, so you mentioned it, you made it or gave an example that, let's say, folks from the agile mindset and then folks from the traditional mindset, we share quality.
Yeah. Yes.
So from an agile mindset, we look at as quality is part of the delivery, as actually part of the implementation of the production. It's happening as we go along.
Right.
In traditional sense, quality was a step after development.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we're both saying we need to incorporate quality into our product.
Right.
How do we do this in a way that we can deliver or get it out to our customer quicker? And it's not compromise. It's really collaborating together to find, hey, we're looking for the exact same thing.
Yep. And I think that's one of the things that I had an opportunity to do the Certified Agile Leadership class that Bob Gillen did a while back. And in that class, he ran an exercise. It was like a game exercise that, not him, I think his daughter ran. It was a co-training program. It was pretty cool. His daughter is not in Agile and whatsoever, and she's in, I think, social science or something like that. I can't remember what it was. But she does some stuff like that. So the game was from her, and it was really cool. It was all about just, we had 3 groups of people with 3 different set of rules. But in reality, you could achieve those rules and get the goal done, and it will satisfy all 3 rules without causing problem.
Yeah.
And it just happened in that class. We were all really fast and thinking that way. And I can imagine if we were to play that game with some folks out there, it's simple. I'll give you what it is right now, Charles. It's simple, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
You get a group of chairs, right? Kind of like this in the office settings. You tend to have this rolling chairs, right? This big chairs that I'm sitting on right now, right? So you bring them around, get everybody to bring it into the circle, right? Put it in the middle, like just mash them up. Don't put them in any any shape, form, whatever it is, don't have to order anyone. So just kind of bunch them all together, right? So you split into 3 groups. Group number 1, you say, you guys. So the rule is that each group is going to do what they are supposed to do without telling the next group, and they cannot say a word. You can do sign, but you cannot speak.
Oh my.
So to the first group, you would show that the group 1, you are gonna pair the chairs up. Group number 2, you show them that the chairs must be in a circle. Group number 3, the chairs must be upside down.
Oh my God. And everybody's trying to accomplish that group's goal.
That is correct.
So if I'm in a group with you and I'm in group 1, we have to communicate to the rest of them, hey, we've got to pair the chairs up.
Yeah, and you can't tell me, right? You have to somehow show me.
I have to show you. Meanwhile, group 2 is trying to build the circle.
Yeah. And then there's this. So I love the game. I was like, it is so simple, but it's so clear, right? It's one of the things that we forget that, hey, there is governance that we got to take care of. There is quality that we got to take care of. There is, all these things. Every department needs to come together and working as one.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one of the things that oftentimes we forget. It is my way and my way only is right, which is wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that game. I mean, I can't wait to try that game out somewhere. When I get a chance, I'm gonna try that game out. It's so awesome.
It sounds like we're gonna have to do that at a meetup because I want to see this thing in action.
Right. Try it out. I mean, I gave you the rules, the simple rules. Those are simple rules.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, it sounds like that could be an
when we started that game, you know what? The person that had the most trouble was actually Bob Galen. He was actually part of one of the team. He was causing more problem. You're like, no, stop, Bob. Stop.
That's fantastic.
So it was awesome. It was awesome to watch how we could come together as one and still accomplish all our needs.
Yeah, even though we're after the goals may be a little bit different, but we're still trying to shoot for the exact same thing. And I think that from a project management perspective, from an agile mindset perspective, it's keeping that in mind for younger coaches out there. I would say that I was in that boat 3 or 4 years ago where I would never have been having a conversation about agile project management. I would have dispelled it right away and walked away and be like, that's absolutely nuts. It's doing it the wrong way. But I think that as we've seen different things and as we've matured in our journey, we see, there is a need for some of that sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure there's a few of our colleagues out there that when they see this video, their heads are going to explode. They're like, my God, Richard and Charles are saying this. But I mean, I think that you have to see it. I mean, you don't have to say, yes, it's perfectly good and we should be doing it. The realization of, okay, how do we meet in the middle?
So that leads leading into what I had in mind. I almost forgot about it. There is a caution. And this caution is that oftentimes we look outside to see what others are doing, to try and see how can we be better. And sometimes we copy what other people are doing, thinking that they are better, therefore they know better than us, so we're going to copy what they do. But not realizing or not understanding that there is a story and there is there's more to it than just observation, right? We need to sit down and have a conversation with them and ask them, where are they on their journey? Mm-hmm. Because there's a difference for a big company that has to go through a year before they actually transition, and they don't even know where they're going, right? They don't know the end result. They know that I'm going to go. The right thing is going fully all the way. How do I get to fully all the way, right? It takes a long time to get there. Yeah. So in the meantime, we put in all these steps to get there. Now, along come these new companies, a company that say, well, we're new. Well, let's look at IBM. Cool, IBM's doing that. Well, that's the right way. We are going to do it this way. In reality is that, no, as a smaller company, you have much better options because you can turn your ship faster. Yes. So therefore, looking at where compare where our technology in terms of where we are in the US, right? We talk about the technology. We talk about having our phones, right? Talk about having our phones, using our phone for payment and things like that, right? Where do you see that? Big vendors.
Yeah.
You go to China, they're just a small vendor on the side of the street, and they're using Apple Pay.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom, here it is, right? And
Slide
talking
your
about,
card, you're done.
yeah, they're done. And this is like a small vendor, right, on the side of the street. And then you talk about India, how advanced it is. It's like they don't have a phone at home, but most of them have a cell phone now,
Yep.
much more advanced than we are, right?
Yep.
Because they can move faster. They can see, oh, we need to go move fast. So for those of you that's out there in your journey, I would caution that, yes, you're doing the right thing by looking outside, but do have a conversation to find out where they are. Get an idea where they are. And I fall into the same boat too, right? Sometimes I look at, oh, that's bad. They're doing the wrong thing. But because I did not know, right? And that's bad on me. And I actually need to go out there and ask those questions and talk to people
Yep.
to learn more about that.
It's the whole thing of a good coach will first get the lay of the land before he or she starts, moving or recommending any changes. And I think that's a lesson that you and I both have learned through the years. And whenever we walk into a new engagement or a new scenario, it's funny because a lot of individuals in that arena will look to a coach and immediately want the coach to start telling them what to do.
Yep.
And then when a good coach comes in and sits in a corner and is just really quiet and just observes, they're first, oh, why are we paying them this much money? He or she's just sitting there in the corner and they're not doing anything. It's like, no. You have to observe because, look, I'm not going to go in here as a coach and preach on, well, this is how I used to do it at this company. This is how this company does it. No, I want to see the environment, the organism that is the company that I'm working with, and how do we adapt and recommend those changes that fits best for that to get to the end game. We're still trying to get to the same end game, but the path is going to be a lot different.
Yeah, and that brings up maybe the analogy of, let's say both of us is wanting to go to Crabtree Mall, right? Where we start is different.
Yeah.
Where we end is the same. Our path getting there is different. We're going to see, we'll take different roads. We may face different obstacle, but the end is the same.
It's a perfect way to illustrate it.
All right. So does that sum up what we have? I think it's hopefully it's clearer. I mean, I'm trying to get it so we can get better message out there.
I think so. I mean, honestly, I think the message that we've been sending is if you're a small startup, keep it simple, keep it lean. Larger companies, you've got to do what you've got to do to adapt. Agile project management is not a bad word. I think it's a step in the evolution, and I think that there's a need for the practices in it, just like I think there's a need for incorporating the 12 principles of Agile.
Right.
I think that's a good start. Now, I think for a future conversation, and this is the $1 million question, is I think that the big problem is in the finance and the budgeting. That's what's causing a lot of the turmoil at other.
Because that's looking out. I mean, they have to have absolutely, knowing how much it's going to cost, right?
Yeah.
I
could go on and on about that topic.
Oh, yeah. All right. This may be the longest recording we ever had. Believe it or not.
What? When we're away from each other for so long.
I know there's so much to talk about. Not to mention the 1 hour before the painful Windows update.
Well, yeah, we gotta have the Windows update. Get a Mac. Get a Mac.
I know. Oh man, I just gotta get paid first. That's what it is, folks. I need to get paid.
So, Richard, is this going to be our last recording on this channel? Are we looking to switch channels soon?
Yes. So, folks, you heard it right. This may be the last recording you're going to hear from us, except that we are not done.
Oh, no.
Well, we are thinking about the future. We're actually moving this to a channel for this, primarily just for Agile, just for conversation and things like that. So, stay tuned. You should see something at the beginning of the year. The hope is that we'll start fresh in 2018. That's the goal. That's the plan. We know where we're going. Small steps along the way. So this is iterative towards that. stay tuned. That's all I can say, I guess.
We are walking the talk.
We're walking the talk. All right, folks. This is Master Asian Core.
And C-Rod.
All right. Bye, y'all.